This is the start of the 18th class. Good morning, all of you. Uh, I'll just very quickly revise what we have done yesterday. Yesterday, we saw what is HTML forms, and I told you that HTML forms is a way to ask the user to enter some data into a web application. Through HTML forms, user will be able to enter text-based data, digits, numbers. We can provide different types of elements. We can provide different types of user controls on the form to make it easy for the user to enter the data. But for different types of data, there are different controls available, different elements. HTML form elements are available like text boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, combo box. Now, the developer, whoever is developing the web application, should decide upon what control, user control to use, form element to use for a particular data. For example, if you're asking the user to enter his name, then text box would be the most appropriate user control. If you're asking the user to enter gender, then a radio button or a combo box would be more appropriate, and so on. How does the forms work? Forms work very simple. I have explained to you this procedure yesterday. It's a 5-step process. Finally, when the user enters the data into the form and he submits it to the server will run a PHP file, a server-side script, which will retrieve the data of the form and then process it. And then I gave you some examples yesterday. What is the meaning of processing the data? I can use it in whatever way I want to use it. I can store it to the database, I can email it to somebody, or I can SMS to somebody. I can do whatever I want on the server. I can write that script to extract the data, and then after that, I am free to do anything with the data. Okay, so we will understand that in the fourth module when we start. This is how the form works. Next, I told you yesterday that we will be starting with something called as query string. What is the meaning of a query string? Now, this is a very important concept. In the examination, they may ask you this question as to what is the meaning of a query string, how it is useful. Now, let me tell you that when the data is submitted from the user, like let us go back to this diagram here. When the user enters data into the form and then submits it to the server. This is the fourth step. The data is sent to the server. Whatever I enter into the form elements, if I enter something in this text box here, for example, here the user has entered a data called as Central Park, and there is another combo box in which the user has selected United States. So these are the two data that goes to the server. Title is Central Park and the country is United States. So these data goes to the server. Now, how this data goes to the server is important. The data goes to the server in two ways. Okay, you can either use the first way or the second way, which are the two different methods of sending data to the server. We can send the data to the server either using the get method, or I can send the data to the server using the post method. Now remember that I told you in the HTML form tag, there are two very important attributes. The first attribute is the method attribute and the second one is the action attribute. So whenever you have forms in your HTML pages, there are two attributes that you have to write. And now, depending upon what method I have used for my form, the data goes to the server in different ways. If I have used the get method to send the data to the server from the client, the data goes to the server through the query string. It goes to the server through the query string. I will explain to you what is a query string later on. Right now, just understand what is the difference between the get method and the post method. If I send data to the server using get method, remember the data goes to the server only. Finally, remember whether you use the post method or the get method, data goes from the client to the server only. You can see this arrow here. The fourth step takes the data. This is the request. Of course, the request goes in the request. The data goes to the server. See here, the user form data is sent to the server within the request. You can see this. You can see this part. The data goes to the server from the client. Now, if my form is using the get method, the data, whatever I'm sending, Central Park and United States, it gets attached to the query string and it goes to the server. If I'm using the post method, whether it is get or post, in both the cases, data goes to the server only. But how the data goes, it makes a difference there. If it is a get method, I told you that the get data gets attached to the query string and it goes to the server. If you use the post method, the data goes to the server through the header files. I will explain to you the difference between the two. What is a query string? A query string is something which gets attached to your URL. A query string is something which gets attached to your URL. What is a URL? URL is something which you enter into the browser, into the address bar of the browser, and you request resources from the server using a URL. Now, the server, the browser uses the URL, it attaches the data to the URL, and then it sends that URL to the client machine, to the server. From the client's machine to the server, the browser sends the data. Whatever you've entered here, Central Park and United States, will get attached to the URL, and the URL, you know that the URL, of course, has to go to the server. This URL actually goes to the server. When data is getting attached to the URL, it is called as the get method. The get method uses that procedure of attaching the data to the URL, and the data part which is there in the URL is called as a query string. How does a query string look like? When you have a form like this, let us take an example of this form only. I have a text box here, okay, and the data that the user has entered in the text box is Central Park, and I have a combo box here in which the user has selected United States. So I have two controls here, two types of data that the user is sending, is submitting from the client to the server. When I create a query string out of this, I don't have to create this, the browser will do it automatically. The query string actually is a combination of name and value pair. It's a combination of name and value pair. Every time you place a control like this, every time you place a control like this, the text box or a combo box, this one, when you create a control like this in HTML form, you give it a name. Let us take an example. I go here, okay? Form example, yeah, there it is. I say open with Sublime Text. This is what. So now every time you place any control on the web page, you write input type is equals to submit. You write input type is equals to reset. You write input type is equals to radio. This is not the only thing that you write. For example, here you can see input type is equals to text. There are other attributes also to this input tag. This control should be given a name. I should write the name of this control. What are you supposed to take in this text box? The username. Okay, so you have to give it a name. You have to call it this text box, particularly this text box, you are giving it a name. I call it as txt uid. I call it as, I remove all the other things. I don't want this. So I remove all this. Okay, what is there in my, is only this much. I have a field set. I told you yesterday what is the meaning of a field set. And in this field set, what I have is I have a label here, user ID, and then I have a text box here. I'm giving a name to this text box. This name is very important. I can have one more name. I can have one more name. Okay. I can have one more text box in my web page. You can see this. I will call this as password. Password. Let the label be password. This also let it be text, and this I will call it as txt pwd. Okay. So whenever you place such user controls on the web page using a form, remember that these text boxes or radio button, whatever you place, should be given a name. It should be given a name. Every control that you place, whether it is a text box, text area, radio button, checkbox, combo box, whatever you place, this name you have to give it to you. Only when you have something like this, a name given to the text box or the radio button in the server, you will be able to extract it. Okay, I'm using this name here. So initially, I told you how to place text boxes. Then I'm slowly explaining to you which are the other attributes of this you have to use. So I have a text box here. Then I give a name to it. I call this text box as txt uid, and then I call this second text box as txt pwd. Now let us save this program. Okay, I will save this program, and I will run this program. So I say File, Save, and then I go to the browser, and I want to execute this file. So I go there, for example, double click on that, and you can see that I have two text boxes. One says user ID. This text field here is user ID field. The name of this text box is txt uid, and the name of this password text field is txt pwd. Okay, so this name here, what you type, comes over here. The query string is actually a series of name value pairs. So when you have a form containing multiple elements, each element will have a name, and then the value that you have inserted in that text box. For example, if I enter here, let us say user ID is, let us say I enter Raj. Okay, so what is the name of this text box? It is txtuid, and what is the value that I have put into this text box? It is Raj, Raj. So finally, what will happen is in the query string there will be an entry like this: txtuid is equals to Raj. It will be like this. Let us say after that there is a password. Here in the password I enter, let us say test. I enter test in the password field. Okay, so how will that be created? Txt pwd is the name of that text box, is equals to test test. So this is how the query string is constructed by the browser, and this is done automatically by the browser. We don't have to do anything. So txtuid is equals to Raj, then there is an ampersand in between, and then there is txtpwd is equals to. So every element name is attached with the value separated by an ampersand, another element from the form, a value, and then if there is one more element, then again one more ampersand will come. If let us say there is a checkbox, check, and the name of that checkbox is chk1 is equals to, okay, selected, something like that will be there, the value. Okay, and then finally this is what is called as a query string. Now this will get attached to your URL, and then it is sent to the server. Then it is sent to the server, and on the server then you will be able to extract these values that the user has entered. When we will write the PHP code, when we will write the server side PHP script, in the PHP we will be able to extract the data that is entered in the form. But right now I want you people to understand only one thing. Whenever you have a form on a web page, the form should use either the get method or the post method to send the data to the server. If the form, in the form the user, the developer has written method is equals to get, then remember that the data goes to the server only, but how it goes is that it gets attached to the URL and then it goes to the server. How will it get attached? This is how it will get attached. In the beginning here, you have the complete URL of the server will be there. Then there will be a question mark. And then after the question mark, this query string will be attached. This query string will be attached. This is how the data will go to the server in case the method is get. In case the method is post, this data will not appear here. The URL will be only URL. Okay, the name of the server slash the PHP file which you want to execute, that question mark query string will not be there because the method is post. The data will definitely go to the server, but now it will not go attached to the URL in the form of a query string, but it will get attached to the header fields and then it goes to the server. Okay, so this is how the data actually goes to the server. Where it comes here in the fourth step. The user data from the form is sent to the server within the request. And then how it goes is, if the method is get, it gets attached to URL, and that part after the question mark, how does it appear? After the question mark, the URL will be there. How does the URL will look like? It will look like something like this: http://myserver.com/process.php question mark, and txtuid is equals to, let us say I write Raj and then ampersand, then txt pwd is equals to test. This is how the URL will be constructed. So before the question mark, whatever is there is called as the URL, the URI. It's called as the URI, the Uniform Resource Identifier. And after the question mark, what is there is called as a query string. So if you look at this, what is this query string? The query string is a series of name, value, name, value. Now this is an example for this form, that where there are only two text boxes. What if I have a very big form, a registration form where we are asking the user to enter his name, his age, his phone number, his email ID, everything. So in that case, the query string will be very big because there will be more name and value pairs. Okay, so let us go to this later on. When we go to PHP, you will have a better understanding of this. Right now, I want you people to understand only one thing, is that data goes to the server whether you use the post method or the get method. In both the cases, data goes from the client to the server only. But when the get method is used, the data gets attached to the URL in the form of a query string, and it goes. If it is the post method, then the data is sent to the server using the header fields. Now we will be learning about what is the difference between the get and the post method. Okay, what is the difference between the get and the post method? We will be learning into more detail. It is given here. The difference between the get and the post method is that get method is not in both the cases. Remember, the data goes to the server only, and you know that in get method it gets attached to the URL in the form of a query string. In the post method, it gets attached to the header fields. When data is getting attached to the header fields, remember it is getting encrypted and all that, so it is more safe. When data goes to the server using the post method, it is more safe. Okay, and when it goes through the get method, it is not safe because you, the user, will be able to see everything in the browser's address bar. The browser will be able to see it in the browser. I'll just demonstrate this. Let us see if it is possible to see everything. So what I have here is I have two text boxes, then I will place one more input. Yeah, type is equals to submit. Okay, so all that, and then I will write here a form. I'll write method. I'll write method is equals to, I'll write get. I'll write method is equals to get. Okay, that I write it in the form tag. So I come here, I refresh this, so you can see the submit button. So here what I will do is I will write Raj, and here I will write tst test, and then I will click on the submit button. Click on the submit button. Now look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You can see that there is a question mark which has appeared here automatically in the address bar. Then txt uid is equals to Raj, txt piece. You can see that in the address bar it will come automatically because the browser has created that. The browser automatically creates the query string, attaches it to the URL, and then it sends it to the server. Now I will do one thing. I will change this to post. Method is equals to post, and then I come here, I go back, I refresh. Okay, I refresh the page, and then I enter Raj, and then I will enter test here, whatever I can enter, no problem. So when I submit, it got submitted, but here in the URL, you can see that nothing appears, the question mark, all that. Why? Because now the server, the browser is trying to send the data to the server using the post method. And since it is the post method, data gets attached to the header files and it will not be visible in the address bar here. Okay. So so with this, I hope you understood the difference between the get and post method. In both the cases, data goes from the client to the server only, but post is more secure because data is not visible. Because if you're sending crucial information like your password, your credit card number, bank details and all that, then it is not good to send it using the get method. Okay. Another disadvantage of the get method is that you can send it to the server only limited number of characters. You can send it to the server only limited number. If the method is get here, remember your form cannot be very big, which contains big text boxes, text areas where you enter a lot of data, because you know there is a limitation on how many characters you can send through the query string. So when the method is get, another disadvantage is that you can send only limited number of characters to the server. But if it is post method, there is no such restrictions. This is the second disadvantage. You can just remember that. Okay, so this is the difference between the get and the post method. Now let us go further. Okay, let us try to understand the form element. I have already explained to you the form element should be the first element in your HTML page if you want to place a form on your web page. If you want to place a text box, a password field, a radio button, a submit button, all that, it should start with a form tag. The form tag has two attributes. One is the method and the other one is the action. The other one is the action attribute. In the action attribute, you have to mention the name of the PHP file which you want to execute when the submit button is clicked. When the submit button is clicked or when the form is submitted to the server, which PHP file on the server you want to execute. The name of that PHP file should be written in the action attribute of the form tag. The name of that PHP file should be written in the action attribute of the form tag, the name of that PHP file which you want to process after the form is submitted. So if you have written this HTML page, you should also write the process.php file. Now you will ask me a question as to, sir, always it should be a PHP file or what? No, if let us say you have decided that the server side script that you are writing is not PHP, it is JSP, then here it should be something like name of the file.jsp. If you have written the server side script using Perl programming language, then it will be the name of the file .cgi. Perl programming languages normally will save it with extension CGI if it is on the web. And if let us say you have written a Python program on the server, then you write a Python program here. You write the name of the Python program here. Remember that HTML gets connected with any type of a backend. Your server side script can be anything. It can be JSP, ASP, PHP, Perl, Python. It can be almost any programming language. But since we are learning as part of the subject PHP language, here I write process.php. Why do we write this? It is after the form is submitted, after I have pressed this submit button on the server, remember process.php file will get executed. Okay, so this is the meaning of that. So the form tag has got two very important attributes, the method attribute and the action attribute. Method attribute takes two values, either get or post, and you know now what is the difference between the get and post method. Then what is there in the action? The action attribute takes a value, and this value is the name of the file, server side file, which you want to execute when the form is submitted. Okay, so this is the form tag. So after that, so there is a little explanation to all that, and then there is a difference between get and post, which I have already told you. Then comes form control elements. Form control elements. Now this is an example of the previous thing only, like how if the method is get, then how will the this appear? So we have here a question mark, and then we have a name and value pairs. All that will be there, and all that. Okay. So now that we have understood the difference between get and post, you can see here the difference, also advantages and disadvantages of the get and post method. They have written it there. And then finally we are going to learn the different types of user controls that is available, the different types of user controls that is available in HTML. Okay, which are the different types of user controls? I mean, I told you we have text boxes. I told you we have combo boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, combo boxes, text areas, all that I told you. But exactly speaking, how many categories are there? How many categories? I told you that I have a category of buttons. Okay, so buttons are of different types. I have a simple button, I have a reset button, I have a submit button, all that. So there is a category of buttons, then there is a category of data list, then there is a category of field set, then there is a form, then there is input, then there is labels, legend, options, option group, then I have select, then I have text area. So these are the different types of categories of things that I have in HTML. These type of controls, I can place it on HTML forms. Okay, so now first is this category, the text input control. Text input control. For example, let us say you want to ask the user to enter some sort of a text. Okay, you are asking the user to enter the name. Do you think a radio button will be helpful there? Of course, you cannot use a radio button to ask the user to enter his name. There is no place there to type. Radio buttons doesn't allow you to type anything within itself. The best user control appropriate would be a text field or a text area. So the different types of text input controls, is, first I have a text, simple text. How to place a simple text? I have already told you that input type is equals to text. Then you give it some name. Name is equals to txt uid or txt pwd or txt name, txt age. Then you'll ask me a question, sir, why you are always using txt age, txt name, txt uid like that? No, you can give any name to it. It is just that I have a habit of giving it a prefix. TXT. TXT means I come to know it's a text box control. If it's a radio button, then I write it as RD age. Sorry, RD gender. RD. I prefix it with a name called as RD because from the name itself, I should come to know what control it is. So that's why it is my habit that I give it a name called as T. But you can give any name to a user control. So the first, most simplest is the text. You have already seen it here. I have two text boxes here. If I go here, if I refresh, you can see I have two text boxes here. Okay, so I have two text boxes here. Then the next is the text area. Text area is another control which I can make use of. Text area also I have explained to you yesterday. What is the meaning of text area? I told you that if you place text area, then what will happen is, I'll just save this. Okay, there's nothing. There's only one text area. And then if I come to this, if I refresh, then you will see that I can enter multiple lines. So text area is a text box which will allow you to type multiple lines. Okay, so that is the difference. And then text area, of course, you can also mention how many rows you want, how big you want. So the text area has got an attribute called as rows. Of course, it should have an attribute called as name. I will call this, okay, I will call it as txt address. Rows is 3. I said I want 3 rows in that. So if I refresh, then there are 3 rows. Okay, If I say rows is equals to 30, then it will be a big text area. So we can decide how big you want the text area. So how many rows you want in the text area, you can actually decide that. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. You can have any number of rows. How big you want it, you can have it like that. If I put here 10, then there will be 10 lines in it. So basically I can define how big I want the text area. Of course, it will also allow you to resize the text area in the browser also, no problem. Okay, but there is a property called as rows here. It has got an attribute called as rows. Then we have the password field. Yeah, of course. Okay, I can have a text field. I can have a text field like this. What is this? User ID, and then how to place a text box. You know, input type is equals to text, name is equals to txt, UID. Okay, I save this. I come here. I refresh, then you see that there are two text boxes. So when I type here RAJ Raj, and then here I will type test TST test, you can see that in the text box here I'm able to see the password that I'm typing. Why? Because input, it is still type is equals to text. It's a simple text. It is still input type is equals to text. If you want it to be a password field, what is the difference between a simple text field and a password field? Is that whatever you type in a text box will be visible, but if you change this input type is equals to password, if you write input type is equals to password, here the keyword is password. For a simple text box, it should be type is equals to text. For a password field, if you write password here, save it, come here, refresh. Now see the difference. If I type here Raj, RAJ Raj, it is a simple text box, so you're able to see that. If you type test here, now see what happens. So whatever I am typing, you're not able to see it. Why? Because it is no more a simple text box, but it is a password field. Okay, the only difference is that here you will be able to see whatever you type, and here you will not be able to see that. Okay, so that is about the password. Then you have a search field. You have a search field here. Okay, so you can just copy that, and you can just go here, and you can have a let us say Control C and then Control V. Search label over type is equals to, okay, I will write SERCH search. Okay, and then I will call this as txt key, some name I give it to it, txt key I call it as, that particular text box. File save. So when I come here, if I refresh, then you can see that one more text box is added here, and it will be a search key. And then what is the difference between a search key? If I type something here, and then if I type something here, the only difference is that there is this X mark coming, which I can use it to delete. Okay, that's about it. Maybe there's no much difference between a search, but there are some extra text boxes that they have added in HTML, which you can add and make your web pages more attractive, more user friendly. So there is a search also. Okay, then there is email here. I don't know what will happen if you place an email field. Okay, so what I will do is I'll just yeah, I placed that. Let us say that I write email here, type is equals to email, and then I will call this particular text box as txt email. Okay, now let us see how is this email text box different. So when I refresh, I don't see any difference. Actually, it looks the same to me. This is a simple text box. This is also a simple text box. Here, maybe if you declare a particular text box as email, then I think you will be able to do proper validation as to, because if you are asking the user to enter proper email, then the email should contain an @ symbol and a dot symbol. So with this particular text box, we can validate that the email is proper or not. Okay, so that is the only difference. Otherwise, I think a simple text box will also work here, no problem. So what we are learning is the different types of text input controls. Text is the simplest. Text area, multi-line, password will not display, search with a little special effect in that, email, take email, telephone number to take the telephone number, URL to take the URL, and so on. So these are the different types of text input controls that is available in HTML. Okay, so I can write input type is equals to URL, input type is equals to tell, input type is equals to email, search, password. I can use anything of this. Okay, this is text input controls. So you can see, all this here, input type is equals to password. You'll be able to see it like that. Input type is equals to search, enter search text here. So it will display you a. So this is what they have shown you. You can see here. Placeholder is equals to enter search. You can also use this property called as placeholder that will get displayed to you here. Enter search text. Then input type is equals to email. Yeah, see, it tells you that you can say this is input type is equals to email, and then email, if you don't enter it properly, then it will give you an error. Please enter a valid email. So this is what I was talking about. It does validation of the email. This, if you say input type is equals to email, you are supposed to enter email only there. If you try to enter anything other than an email, then it will say please enter a valid email. How does a browser come to know, or how this text box comes to know that it is not a valid email? Because emails should contain an @ symbol and a dot at least, is it not? So here you can see FDS, something is written which is not a valid email. So that's why in Opera it displays you an error like this, please enter a valid email, like that. Then input type is equals to URL. Then here also it tells you to enter a proper URL and all that. So examples are given. So that is about simple text input controls. Then you have something called as okay, you have choice-based controls. Choice-based controls are drop down. Okay, you have drop down combo boxes. Then you have radio buttons and all that. So if you want to place choice-based controls, you know, choice controls means the user doesn't have to enter anything, doesn't have to type anything from the keyboard. Choice, a list of things is given to the user, and the user simply selects it from that choice. Okay, the user simply selects it from that choice. And that choice-based controls, which all are choice-based controls? Choice-based controls are combo boxes, because I click on the drop down and then I get a list of things. From there I can select. Okay, next is a radio button, again a choice-based, because a list of things will be given to me, out of which I have to select one. Checkbox is also a choice-based control, where a list of items will be given to me and I can select multiple. Okay, so which are the different choice-based controls? First is a select list. Example of select list, I have already shown it to you. We write select, then we write options here like this. We write select and then we write options. Option first, second, third, like that. So when I click on that, I get first, second, and third. So I get a drop down like this. Okay, so first it will appear like this. First it will appear like this. And then when I click on that, then automatically I'll get a drop down first, second, third. How to place that on the web page? We write select, we give some name to that, and then we say option, 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 and then we close the select tag. Similarly, I also have the data list. Data list also, data list and select are almost similar only. So if I have data list, ID is equals to, I give it some name. Name is equals to cities I give, and then I write option is equals to Calcutta, option is equals to Calgary, London, and then I write Los Angeles, Paris, and Prague. So this is how I can create a. What is the difference is in a select, you get a drop down. When you click on that, you get a drop down, but in here you don't have that arrow mark. So okay, let me see how this appears, because I also haven't seen this. So I copy that, okay, and I want to place this in my list. So I remove everything, okay, and I place only the data list. I save it, then I come here, I refresh. Data list ID is cities, and then option / data list, and then I don't know why it is not appearing. I saved that program, file, save it, then I go to the browser, I refresh, control F5, nothing is appearing here. I don't know. Okay, am I missing something here? Type is equals to text. Sorry, I think I should write it. I should have a text box. So I copy that text box. I should have a text box before the data list. In that text box only it will come. So control V. So see here, input type is equals to text, simple text box, name is equals to city, list is equals to cities. Okay, so we have to write list is equals to cities, and then cities is actually a list here, a data list here, which will get attached to the text box. So now see what happens. So file, save, I come here, I refresh this, you can see a text box. So when now I click on that, you get an option. So I can select any one of these. So this is like a combo box only. Yeah, one more good thing is that as and when I'm typing here, I'm allowed to type something here. So as and when I'm typing, automatically from the drop down, I get all the options, all that. Very nice. Okay. So this is something which I also had not used before. Okay. So input type is equals to text. Then you can attach a data list to that text box. Then you have, of course, select. Okay. Then you have select options. Multiple things are given here. Okay. You can just have a look at that. Then input type is equals to radio. Okay. Input type is equals to radio. If you want to place a radio button on the web page, okay, then you have checkboxes. You know what is the meaning of, what is the difference between a radio button and a checkbox? This is a radio button. Okay. You get like this. What continent you stay in, North America, South America, Asia. So you can select any one of these. You can select any one of these. I cannot select I stay in North America also and in Asia also. I cannot do that. So wherever you are asking the user from a set of items to select only one, you want to force the user to select any one, then you go for a radio button, because it will allow you. If you select this, this will get unselected. And if you select this, this will get unselected, and so on. So at any given time, you can select only one. That option will be given to you through a radio button. But check boxes are not like that. Check boxes are not square like this. Where would you like to visit? So if you are asking, you want to give a user multiple options, and then from there you want the user to select multiple choices. So he can select this one also, so he can select any number of options. So multiple options, multiple selection, checkbox. Multiple options, single selection, radio button. Okay, I hope that is clear. So these are all choice-based input. Okay, choice-based control. Next, after choice-based, then we have button controls. We have button controls. In button controls, I told you we have input type is equals to submit the form. Input type is equals to reset the form. Input type is equals to button, a simple button. It will not either reset the thing or it will not submit the form. But you can write some JavaScript. If you want to execute some JavaScript which runs on the web page, we will come to JavaScript in the third module. Then you use a simple button. Okay, and then finally you have one more type of a button which is called as an image button. Okay, you can create an image button and you can place it on the web form. So these are the different types of buttons. I will give you examples of this in the next class. A little more than 1 minute is remaining. So I think I will stop the class here. I hope the concept of forms is clear with all of you. You have understood the difference between get and post method. I hope you have understood the different attributes of the form tag. I hope you have understood what is the meaning of a query string. Then I hope you have understood the get and post method, difference between the get and post. And then finally, you have understood the text-based controls like text box, text area, password field, email, telephone, search, all that. I hope you've understood the choice-based controls, the radio button, the check boxes, combo box, and the data list. These are the 4. And then after that, the button controls, you must have understood the submit button, the reset button, a simple button, and image button. Okay, so these are the button elements. So I will write an example in the next class. I will show you a complete demonstration of all these controls. Okay, and then after that, we will be doing specialized controls in the next class. We will be doing specialized controls in the next class. So we will stop here today. All of you have a nice day. Okay, bye-bye.